And actually, so Jenny's doing the recording as a co-host. Can I ask for someone to make a backup copy? That cannot either be the host or the co-host.
Can we do that through Zoom?
Well, any of them would be through Zoom. So yeah, but it would be a local. I would hope somebody. I'm hoping somebody could do a backup local. Jenny's actually doing the one through Zoom.
Yeah, I can do it if you'd like him. Put my
Yeah,
finger on the button now.
yeah, that would be great.
You should get a request for that right now.
I did. Thank you. Always cautious about the primary and the secondary. Anyway, so because I just remembered to go back into the recording, so I had asked for we have just entered back into uh, open meeting and have exited executive session. I asked commission for announcements, and the commission had no announcements. Now is the time for public comment. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and must be on a subject matter under the direct jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Comments about current agenda items are to be made during the comment period of that specific agenda item. And when making any comments, please address them to the chair, which is me. And anytime you speak and are recognized by the chair, please state your name and your address. Do we have any public comments? And while people are thinking about that, just as a quick reminder, in Zoom, there are, along the periphery, depending on what platform you are, there is a react kind of pane. Sometimes you have to, icon, sometimes you have to hover over it to see it. You can raise your hand there by clicking the little heart. And if you have trouble finding, like the hand, any icon will do. And of course, if all else fails, unmute yourself, and make a noise, and I'll acknowledge you, and we'll circle back around to call on you at the appropriate time. So we have no public meeting requests or public comment. We have no meeting minutes from previous meetings. We did receive a request from the representative for the consultant for 221 Electric Ave. We received that request for continuation yesterday. So we will not be hearing that one tonight. And with that, we'll move along to new public hearings. 73 Round Road, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Mark Sprague for the installation of a new drinking water well within the limits of the 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area on Lake Shirley. And so do we have Mark Sprague and or his representative here with us tonight?
Good evening, Madam Chair. This is Matt Morrow. I'm here representing Mark Sprague.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
Do you need to share the project information with us?
If I may, please.
Yes, please do.
So this is a request for a determination for the installation of a drinking water well at 73 Round Road. This has already been approved by the Board of Health. I believe it was approved at their February meeting. The well, as measured from the edge of the existing high water line, is approximately 51 feet away. The well essentially would be installed by Skillings. It would take a day to do. If the commission likes, we can have an arc of wattles put around it just in case, any sediment starts to run. It's a fairly flat area, so I don't see that happening. But, in my discussions with the owner, my client, he's indicated a willingness to do that too. So fairly simple, straightforward. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Matt. I don't have any questions. Are there any questions from members of the commission? I actually was just going into SharePoint to look for photos. You don't happen to have any photos, do you, Matt? I wasn't able to go on site walks this
Actually,
weekend.
no, I don't on this site. I'm sorry. The next one I have tonight, I do. This one I don't.
Okay.
I know Sophie took some pictures because we were there together when she did her site visit, so.
Yeah, I was just calling him up on my other device.
Matt,
Yes, sir.
I didn't see any arcs for any of the neighboring septic systems. Are there no septic systems in that area?
They're just not within 100 feet of the well.
Okay.
Again, it was approved by the Board of Health, so that actually was, had to be considered as part of the approval process.
And you may have said it and I didn't hear it. What was the distance from the well to the high water mark?
51 feet.
51 feet. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ah, okay, yeah. All right, I don't have any further questions. And I think I'm looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Rich.
Second, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. So yeah, so we, finding of a negative determination.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I'll see you in a few minutes for 31 round.
Thank you. 52 Birch Way, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Daniel Proctor for the replacement of an existing failed septic system within the 100-foot, 50-foot, and 30-foot buffer zones of a wetland resource area on Hickory Hills Lake. This one already has an NOI issued as well. And do we have the representatives from Birch Island here tonight?
Yes, good evening. Chris McKenzie from Dillis and Roy here to represent the project at 52 Birch Island Way.
Thank you, Chris. Do you want to do you have some drawings or something you could share with us tonight?
I would. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
It started us off here at the USGS map of the site. I wanted to show where the property is located. It's Hickory Hills Lake, obviously. This is on the very end of Birch Island Road. It's on the peninsula. So that's what we're dealing with. We're basically a piece of property that has water on three sides of it. The design plan shows it is fairly small. The edge of the water basically comes right around like this and around that side. So the house is in the center of it. There's an existing water service going to the building. There's a leach area somewhere out in this area. There's a cesspool located right about here and another cesspool located right about there. This system has failed a Title V inspection and needs to be replaced. So we're proposing a geomat system. It's going to require a few special approvals through the Board of Health, obviously. But all of this work will be within the 100-foot buffer zone, within the 50-foot buffer zone, and most of it's within the 30-foot no disturb zone. The only work outside the 30-foot no disturb zone is the stuff closest to the house here for the septic tank and pump chamber. And then we're going to a geomat leach area located here, which is actually, for all intents and purposes, a little bit further away from the water than the existing cesspools are. But for all intents and purposes, they're about the same. It's about a foot, maybe I think the closest approach of the cesspools is 17 feet over here, and our closest is 18 feet. So we try to keep it as far from the wetland or the lake, really, as possible. Sophia noted that there'd be some trees that are coming down. They're located right in the system area. And yes, they will all have to come down. They can't remain in the system area, and nor can we put any trees in that area because the root systems can infiltrate into the septic system and cause premature failure of the system. So we've shown an erosion control barrier wrapped around the entire site with a little bit of an opening here for allowing for access. There'll be only minor grading associated with this, so it's really going to be dig a hole, put everything in, cover it back over, stabilize the surface, and it's all done. That's about covers it. Like I said, it's got a water here, so there are no other wells or anything in the area. Certainly willing to take any questions.
Have you haven't been before the Board of Health yet? Is that right?
The plan has been submitted to them. Kara has reviewed the plan. She came back with a couple of minor revisions that she asked for. She wanted clarification that we were showing enough cover over the top of the leach area, which is 6 inches is the minimum requirement for this system. So I threw a couple of spot grades on top over the system to show that. And she also asked for buoyancy calculations on the septic tank and pump chamber based on our groundwater table that we found during our soil testing. These buoyancy calculations have a factor of safety of 8 and 6, which is far and above what's required. I've seen them sometimes as low as 1.1 or 1.2. That's when you start getting close. But these are fine. They don't need any additional weight on them. But that was it. That was all she asked for, was those 2 items. So I expect the Board of Health to approve this design. We used the GeoMap because it gave us the smallest possible footprint we could obtain. If this system isn't going to work for them, we're going to go to a tight tank, which is not really the way anybody wants to go.
I don't have any questions. Are there questions from other members of the commission? And for the purposes of the recording, I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Pete Stella has joined us. Pete, have you been here since the beginning of this hearing?
No, I think I caught it partway through for this particular site. Sorry.
Okay, well then we won't have you vote for this hearing, but we'll join you in on the next one, so you have the benefit of hearing from the beginning. I think I'm looking for a motion to approve with a standard order of conditions.
Is there a DEP?
Yeah, there is actually, and there were no comments.
Okay.
Okay,
So
Jenny,
moved.
did I?
Second.
Oh, sorry, Rich? Rich,
I
you do have
did.
your hand up.
I'm sorry about that. Chris, did you say that there could be some changes that the Board of Health may request?
The Board of Health agent has reviewed the plan and came back with only minor comments. We're asking for some local upgrades that are listed on the plan here somewhere. But I don't expect any change from them. No, there they are.
Okay,
So
because you'll
we're
have
asking-
to file for changes if we approve it tonight, you'll have to file for changes if there are any. And I just wanted to make sure you didn't want to just continue.
No, I would like to keep moving forward. Any changes to this would be a wholesale change to a tight tank. There really is nothing much else that can be done out here. So I would think that's probably not what's going to happen. I assume they're going to approve this plan pretty much as designed.
Okay, and Madam Chair, we did get the correspondence back that the neighbors were served?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe that that's been verified, but we can just check that.
Just, my only concern is just where it is so close to the edge of the lake.
I have that document here. I can bring it up on my screen if you want to see it.
And it should be an OpenGov as well.
Oh, it probably is. But
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you've
it
got
could
it
be.
handy,
It is.
that's really it. There's really just the one, and then the landowners.
Okay,
the very nice thing about Logan has been our backup for Sophie in putting our agenda together, and he actually went and checked all of that.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Very
Chris.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I heard, Jenny, that you had made the original motion. Is that correct?
Yes, that was me.
Okay, and then Jeff, you spoke up next. Do you want to be second?
I'll second that, sure.
Thank you. And again, this is for approval with a standard order of conditions. Roll call vote here. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Hi.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving
I hope you all-
along. Have a nice evening. 31 Round Road. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Sean Farrow for the construction of 2 landscape replacement walls, placement of 2 removable docks, and replenishment of beach sand within the 100 foot, 50 foot, 30 foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area at Lake Shirley. And so do we have Sean or his representative here with us tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Madam Chair, Matt Morrow again.
Hi, Matt.
Hi. If I could share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have a plan here that was drawn up by New England Engineering. Everything here was survey located, including the existing trees on the property. There's no trees proposed to be removed at all in any part of this plan. The purple line you have here is the measurement of the 100-year floodplain. There's no floodplain that is proposed to be filled at all. This is a simple in-kind replacement of an existing interior landscape wall that you see here. A wall here that basically leads down with some granite steps that will remain in place to an existing beach area that had started to overgrow. There's grass there now. There was sand there. It's a historical beach, so he is asking to, be able to take the grass, rake the grass back out, and just add some sand to the beach. There is an existing wood dock here. This dock here is a after the fact permit. When I went onto the site to scope out the job, noted the dock was there, and I asked him if there had, looked fairly new. So I asked him, I said, have you been to the commission to have that permitted? He said, no. So we added this to the plan, and he is requesting this dock. Historically, there have been docks here and here. So I guess technically this one that's already here is kind of an add-on. It's one of those plastic removable docks that's put together in sections. I believe you guys should have some pictures of that because I know Sophie took a bunch of pictures of that on your server. I have some pictures. I don't know if it'll do justice for the dock itself. There's a 15-foot section basically right on the property corner here that the wall isn't really, well, shall I say, established. He wants to basically rebuild that wall, so it's considered a new section of wall. Because it's only 15 feet, it doesn't trigger any potential wildlife habitat thresholds. The notice of intent was issued in number by DEP. The file number is 208-1348. it had no comments when the number was issued. If I could, I don't know if this is going to switch between tabs, but let me know if it does. Did that work?
Yes.
Okay. So there's like an existing section here of wall that is going to need to be rebuilt in place. There's actually, it's totally missing there. In that picture, I'm sorry, doesn't, yeah, here it is. It was totally missing here. It just fell right apart. So he's going to rebuild it in place here. This is the interior wall. This, you can, I mean, if you zoom in close, you can see there was sand here. This is the other section of wall that he intends to rebuild in kind and in place. This old, boulder wall is getting, it's getting tired, and the boulders are starting to get loose and fall out. This area, this is his dock right here that comes in pieces, and this is the existing wooden dock here. This was taken while the water was down. The water basically comes up to here, which is what the water line was based off of. This is the internal landscape wall here that is going to be replaced in kind. So there's no changes to dimension proposed. Everything is being replaced in kind, and we're seeking permission to retroactively permit this dock.
So retroactively permit that dock and add another dock for a total of 3 docks on the property?
That is correct. Oh, and I forgot one more detail. There's an erosion blanket here that was drawn in for the construction part of this wall if the water level is up at all when it's done. There is a detail on the type of barrier. It's a common water barrier that is used. So Kent drew in the details here on how it's applied. It's weighted down at the bottom, and it would be in place if the water was up when the work was done. Again, sorry about that. That was one last minute detail I wanted to make sure got in.
Thank you, Matt. I was looking at Sophia's photos, which appear like they were done at higher water.
Yeah, the water was up. We just
Yeah.
took those a couple of weeks. Those were done a couple of weeks ago. Well, last week we were out on site,
Okay.
and I haven't seen her photos, but if they look really clear, that's good because we were both shivering out there. There was quite the breeze and it was cold that day.
Yeah. They are kind of clear. And just an OpenGov, but I'm looking at it on a different device, so I can't share. Jenny, you have a question?
Do you want me to share? Because I have them up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Now let me stop my share here. There you go.
Okay. Okay, can you all, I was trying to figure out what that was.
There we go.
Let's see, we'll start. So this is her first picture. This looks like part of the rolling dock out of the water. And then are these big structures up on the top right? Is that part of a dock system? They're like a,
Yeah, they looked like boat lifts to me. I'd never seen them there before.
okay.
Yeah, they're boat lifts. They roll out next to the dock. So they're put in temporarily during the summer.
Okay. And then so this is a picture of the wall. And then this is a picture of the plastic dock. It's very big. And then this is the wood dock. And here I have a picture of the water line. And then another picture of the wall. And that's it.
Jenny, could you go back a photo?
This one or the one with the dock?
That one. So Matt, somewhere in here is the wall that's not there anymore. Is it in between the 2 pieces of wood or? Where is it?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, without the benefit of being able to do the cursor, if you look between going in the orientation of the photo, then yeah, okay, so basically between the two pieces of wood.
Okay,
Right here. Right
Yes.
there.
Yep. So the walls would connect. So he would connect the existing walls there with each other. You can see the area there kind of, because the way the old wall was put together when it fell apart, you can see the land around it starting to collapse. So that's going to need to be put back in before it becomes a bigger problem.
okay. Thank you. Jenny, any other questions?
I don't have any, so this is the, do we know how, did we say how big this dock is?
It is, we'll look at figures. I believe it's 40 feet long by 20 feet wide at the
Okay.
where the platform is. Those are all plastic
Okay.
sections, so it's put together by hand in sections.
Yeah.
Rich, you had questions?
Yeah, do these docks come out of the water in the wintertime, or are these permanent posts holding them in place?
They can come out. They're not permanent posts. They can come out. I don't know if he takes it out over the winter. I mean, it would be a lot of work taking those sections out and putting them back in. And there's a lot of sections to put that thing together. He does take other stuff out, so.
Okay, but when was this picture taken?
This one was taken last week. The other ones that I showed you were taken back, well, I want to say last fall when the water was down. And, it took a little time, of course, in between to get the survey done and get the plans drawn up and make sure everything was correct. So, yeah, it was last fall.
Okay, but so the plan is not to take these docks out every year. So these are technically permanent docks.
Yeah, they're not taken out now.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is technically work in the wetland because these are permanently driven into the ground posts. It's not like the rolling docks or a dock that gets walked out and is sitting on the feet and carried back out. Which is something to consider, that this is work in the wetland. The way they've got it set up now.
Well, I mean, as you probably know, the posts that are in there now are to allow it to rise and fall with the water so that it's not carried away.
Yep. Yeah. But I know and I think, Matt, you were on a part of the commission or part of the town when we had the issue over on Sunset Lane, where the people put their deck out into the water, and that was a consideration that
Oh, yeah. Nope, I
DEP
remember.
made, a distinction that they made that was clearly work within the wetland resource area.
Nope, I do remember.
It was not a temporary state. So were these permanent docks listed as such when it went to DEP?
Well, let me take a look at my narrative here. Tell you exactly what I wrote. Just bear with me for one moment. I had it up. Yeah, just let me pull it back up. I don't know where it disappeared to. I think I have too many browsers up here. There it is. Just bear with me for 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, you do list them as removable in the summary and scope of work.
Yeah, that's not referring to that dock. That's referring to the third dock. But yeah, you're right. I do put a 40-foot long dock, also removable, currently in place, that is proposed to remain.
And that's the wooden dock or the plastic dock?
I'm going to assume that when I wrote that, I was referring to the plastic dock because I was trying to, show that it was there prior to the filing of the notice of intent.
Mhm.
So in other words, what I was saying was that that was the other dock was pre-existing. This one he put in and it was being retroactively requested. The other one I didn't even refer to because it had always been there. When I looked at historical aerials on it, it had always been there. So I went back all the way through like 2008 and there
Okay.
was a dock in that same location.
And you didn't happen to notice if it had been applied for at any time?
No, I asked him outright, was that ever applied for?
Okay.
Meaning the plastic one, and he said no.
Okay. Or the 40-foot wooden one as well?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
I know it looks like there's been a dock that's been in that spot like for more than 20 years. So
All right. Thank you very much.
yep.
Chris,
Yes, Matt, how's the wall gonna be reconstructed? It looks like it's just, the existing wall doesn't seem to have any type of, way to keep the rocks from, staying together. So are you just restacking them as they were?
No, in this instance, they're pulling the boulder walls out and they're using blocks. They're using
Okay.
lock-in blocks.
Okay.
And they're keeping the wall basically at the same
Okay,
height. I mean, nothing's coming out. Everything's gonna be identical to what it was now dimension wise.
my other question is the area that you said you were gonna rake out, that grass looks pretty established. Is that?
Yeah, going back through the aerial photos, it looks like the grass is established, then it gets raked out, then it establishes again. So yeah, it's historically been like that. I think if you bear with me for one moment, if I could be allowed to share my screen again,
yes, please do, Matt.
just I'm just gonna pull this up and then I'll share it. Okay. Come on, Matt. Sorry, guys. Yeah, never been rapid fire on this screen sharing stuff at times. Here we go. This is an aerial from 2011. Here's 31 Round Road. You can see the beach right there. You can see there's docks on both ends. That's 2011. And it kind of disappears from view 2 years later. It's hard to tell from the 2015 photos. Those were really bad quality. I mean, you see, those are really bad quality photos. It almost looks like you can see something there, but I can't say that definitively. And then 2019, you can see a bare area here, but that looks like it was taken very early spring. So the interesting thing though, like if you go back, I'll go back to 2008. Here's 2008. You can see a beach area here. And again, this dock we were talking about on the other part of the shoreline, that's always been there. Where he's asking for the new dock would be in the same spot where this historically was. That one for some reason disappeared, and there was that plastic one that's out here now, which is right about here where my cursor is pointing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff, you had a question, comment? Jeff, I thought you had a question or comment.
I'm sorry about that. I was still muted, but
That's
so
okay.
the type of dock that they have is it's a jet ski dock. It is removable. So those posts, they're like big screw drives on the bottom, and use a pipe wrench to kind of screw them into the ground. You can actually unscrew them at the end of the season, and then there's little like black cut pieces that hold each of those sections together. And they come apart in like 8-foot sections. So it's technically a removable dock, even though it looks permanent. There's many of them on the lake used for jet skis and stuff. And normally people just pull those posts out of the ground or out of the water and then just kind of pull the dock up onto the beach. So it doesn't look like it's on wheels or anything, which it isn't, it floats, but it is technically a removable dock. As far as the 2 docks, I've been on the lake for many years, as everybody knows, but those 2 docks were always there. The jet ski dock was added, obviously. It's a shallow cove. I think the average depth in that cove is probably only about 5 feet, and usually during drawdown, it's just kind of like a mud pit out there. There's really no water in it at all. There wasn't any water in it this winter when it was under drawdown. So it really shouldn't be any problem getting, those wells replaced during the drawdown. That the one question that I did have is this project going to be completed during drawdown, Matt?
Well, that would be the goal of the project. And if you want to put it as condition, I mean, I don't see that as an unreasonable, requirement from the commission.
Yeah, because I mean, we've never really used these turbidity barriers in the past, so we'd kind of have to look at that to see if that would be something that we're going to start to use in the future. This is something different than what we normally do approve, but if that would be the case, then we would need some erosion control put on there. And then I'd also like to see some detail of what type of wall you're going to build and replace. So that's all the comments I
can get you
have.
those details.
Did you say something?
Through the chair, I do believe that Hickory Hills used those turbidity curtains at one point. They're not used often, speaking to Commissioner Viviano's point. They do work really well. So, I mean, you might want to, just take a look at those specs that Mr. Oldfield provided on his plan. Maybe there's other ways you could use it in the future. They actually work pretty well. I mean, if you want to have it done during drawdown to negate the use of that curtain, that's fine. I'm just saying, that's all.
Thank you, Matt. Pete?
I don't know if it's always the case, but I looked at some historical imagery, satellite pictures, and it appears like that's those docks have been left in the winter, some of them, and that floating dock would probably be on dry land during the drawdown. Just saying, whether they remove it or not.
Thank you, Pete. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I think I heard Matt that we were looking for more detail on to be included on what is the material that's going to be actually used to build the wall.
Yeah, Commissioner Viviano asked for more detail on what the wall material is.
And I think having that documented for me is also important.
Yep, not a problem.
So could we, you think if we continued this to the next meeting, which is May 7th, that would give you enough time to make those updates?
Yeah, no, that'll be fine. I can get it done.
Okay, and to the rest of the, okay, Mike, you have a question, comment?
Yes, Madam Chair. That plastic dock that's out there, I've heard different things about that. It's removable. Are removable docks required to be removed at a certain time of the season? Or are they allowed to stay in the water, or in this case, it falls down into the water source area, but there's no water. I'm trying to get a read on what the regulation is on that. Are we okay as a commission to leave a removable a dock unremoved during the drawdown?
A great question, Mike. I don't actually know the answer to that. Jeff, Rich, do you happen to know, Jeff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say 70% of the people probably take their docks out. And the rest, they just run the risk when the lake comes up, if there's ice still floating around, their dock's gonna get destroyed. So I think some people will do it to the point where their dock gets destroyed, then they spend another $8,000 on a dock. So that kind of gives you that motivation to actually remove it from the water. So it really depends, and it would be tough to really kind of keep track of. There's so many docks. I mean, there's over 350 homes on lakes in Lunenburg, and to keep track of everybody's dock is tough. So that's, in my opinion, about 70% of them come out, and those are the people that really just don't want them to get destroyed, and everybody else is just kind of rolling the dice. And yes, they are on normally dry ground once the lake is drawn down, but this year we had a good drawdown, but the last 2 years we did not. But the lake never really froze, so nobody really ran the risk with the dock out there with the ice coming in and destroying your dock. So yeah, if you don't take it out, you're rolling the dice essentially.
So I think what I'm hearing you say, Jeff, is you're not aware of a regulatory reason why the dock would need to be removed.
Well, again, does it need to be on dry land? If that's the case, then those 30% that aren't taken out, they are on dry land because of the drawdown. But then you run that risk in the spring when the water comes up, that it might have some ice shifting, and then it might just destroy your dock. So most of the people take them out. As far as the regulation, I'm not sure with the drawdown where the regulation would kind of be misconstrued, or is it out of the water line or is it out of the water? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm not aware. Rich.
Yeah, I don't think the wetland buffer line changes with the drawdown. It's wherever the high water
No.
mark is.
Yeah.
That's considered the beginning of the resource area, and Matt can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't
No,
think the
you're correct.
drawdown affects that at all. And I mean, generally the docks, as we permit them, the assumption is that they're always temporary. They go in, they sit on the ground, the posts do in a minimal fashion, and then they're removed. So they're typically there from mid to the end of May through the end of September, early October. Now, to have them in there permanently in place means that it becomes a structure in the wetland. So my opinion is that the docks should be removed. The burden of making sure that they all get removed is a tough one, as Jeff brought up, but from the permitting process, a temporary dock that we're permitting needs to be a temporary dock. If it's something that is there through the winter, it is no longer a temporary dock. They're not planning to take it out. So it is semantics, and it is a small disturbance, but it is in the wetlands, which there really isn't supposed to be any disturbance in the wetland. So, and I myself, after 30 years, am a firm believer in one property, one dock. One property, 12 or 1,300 square feet of dock space out into the water, I don't think should be permitted at all. And again, that's myself, and that's something I've stuck to while I've been on the commission. So I would not be in favor of anything other than the historical docks that were in place. Any additions to that. So
That's actually something I was going to ask the commission about, Rich, because we have on occasion discussed that before, and it has come up as a kind of a topic of dialogue about whether the commission should allow more than one dock per lakefront property, and I'll leave that to the commissioners to think about. I'm more inclined to go with one dock, one one property as well. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know, where does it stop with the encroachment into the actual resource area? And I know that it uniformly applied across the town. I can see that just from looking at the aerial photographs of Lake Shirley and Hickory Hills Lake. Chris,
Yeah, actually glad you brought that up because I was thinking while we were listening to this that 3 docks was kind of extreme. So
yeah,
even though I don't know what the official, if we have an official,
it's discretionary. It's not actually written as a
Yeah.
regulation.
okay.
Rich.
Yeah, one other thing I did want to comment on where we're still adding detail to the plan is somewhere in the construction details that the outer face of the blocks will not be any closer to the edge of the water than the existing wall is. I just want to make sure they don't take the 8 or 10 inch wide blocks out and then drop the 2-foot blocks back in that spot. So now we have a 12-inch incursion into the floodplain. And you understand that, Matt?
Yep, I
Okay.
got it.
Yeah, just to make sure that the face of we're not having any incursion into the floodplain. So the outer face of I imagine they're 2 foot by 4 foot bin blocks. Or something similar is what they're using for construction.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to get a structural. I'll probably have to do a separate sheet on that, Commissioner. The engineer that drew this plan right now is incapacitated due to injury. So I'll have to have a separate detail sheet drawn up.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rich. And so, folks, the other thing that I wonder if it'll be controversial is the what looks like established grass in the beach area. And so I just want to do a straw poll on that to see if that's a concern because, again, I've seen the commission go kind of either way on that. But if we are looking for counter proposals or whatnot, I would prefer we go ahead and let the applicant know now and not make them go through the rigor of coming back and only then finding out that that's a problem. Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, that was a sandy beach at times and it has grown in, so I wouldn't really have any problem with them sifting that material out and replacing the sand. And then as far as the docks go, I mean, 1 is kind of restrictive. I think 2 would probably be more efficient. I mean, it's, some people have boats and jet skis and they, there's just a requirement to have 2 docks and there's, many homes on the lake that have 2 docks. And if they're removable type, like on wheels, then I really don't see an issue with that. And again, depending on how much shoreline you have too, some homes only have 50 feet of shoreline and some homes have, 700 feet. So I think that kind of has to be taken into account too. And then the other thing is, I mean, it's good structure for the fish as well and for the wildlife. That shaded area actually does, there's many fish that, they have, reproduction in the shade under those docks, and it's good for the environment, I think, as well, as long as they're on wheels and removable as permitted. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for that. So just in terms of a straw poll, I'm going to just go around and quickly poll on if there's any concern about the sand area, the proposed beach area. Rich, what are your thoughts?
Am I unmuted? Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yep. Yeah, it did look in the pictures that Matt had over the years that there was sections that were and then grew in a bit and then were cleaned again. And it did look like from the most recent photos that there was an elevation difference in the areas that they're looking to reclaim that were closer to the water line level. Was that correct?
Well, I mean, it's kind of in the area where the beach is, in the overgrown sections, I think it's more of like a kind of like a optical illusion because of the way the grass is the weedy growth is coming in. It almost looks like it's making an elevation change. I think if you pull that material out and you put in the beach sand at the elevation below the grass, it'll keep that floodplain elevation intact.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Rich. And Jeff, you've already commented. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I concur that, if the material's being, the grass is being removed and the sand is put where the grass used to be, it shouldn't be any higher than where the grass was. So I concur that that sounds like a reasonable.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Jenny?
Yeah, I agree. If the height is staying the same, then
Okay,
that would be
very
fine.
good. Chris?
Yeah, just want to thank Jeff for his insight into there. I appreciate the input, so it helped me make a decision. I'm okay with the docks being 2, and I'm okay with the grass being raked out, so.
Thank you, Chris. Pete?
Oh, sorry. 1 second. I just had to click my mute off. Yeah, I looked at some of the pictures, and they've got quite a bit of grass going on there. They've got, I think, 150 foot of frontage. If it was me, I'd probably be happy with 2 docks, but I don't like to tell people what to do with their property too much. I don't think they're doing anything that's going to degrade the wetlands, so I think we can allow them to do what they want to do.
And how about the sand in the beach area?
Oh, the sand. Yeah, well, that was my comment about the grass. They've got some grass going on there, so I think they're trying to control erosion. I think it appears as though, there was probably sand there, and the grass kind of got in there. And as long as they haven't, it hasn't really turned into grass, I think we can let them reclaim that as beach.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Okay, Matt. So what I heard was, and commissioners, keep me honest on this, is add more detail on the types of blocks of material that are going to be used for building the wall, and add a note to the drawing that the outer face of the rocks will be no closer to the water line than the current existing rock wall is.
Mhm.
And then
Yep.
we have a request to continue to, oh, Jeff. Oh, Jeff, you went on mute right after your hand came down.
Sorry. The other question is if it's going to be done during drawdown with those turbidity barriers, or if it's going to be done with silt fencing and straw wattles. That's another question that I had.
And I thought Matt said that he thought that the property owner would be amenable to either. But yeah, Matt, clarify.
No, that's correct. Yeah, no, the property owner, well, I mean, considering he is the principal owner of S&M Farms, I think he's able to get erosion protection hay bales.
Anytime he wants, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's all they do. And of
Yeah.
course, I did crack the joke to him if he knew anybody where he could get bales from. So
Yeah, cool.
that being said, I don't think getting ECBs out there would be a problem for him.
And then it would just have to go onto the plan in that way, and just some detail on the straw wattle and silt fence location.
Yeah, I just speaking as one voice in the room, I would be more inclined to ask to condition it to be completed during drawdown. It doesn't seem like something that needs to be done on an emergency kind of basis. I don't know if anybody has a different thought about that. Rich. And Rich, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes, I would concur that it should be done during drawdown unless it's an emergency situation, which it doesn't look like it is.
No, I would agree. It's definitely not.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
obviously there has to be excavation on top of getting rid of the stones that are there to fit the blocks back in. So it would be much safer for the environment to not have the work being done in the water and then trusting the turbidity barriers.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. Jenny?
I was just going to agree with you that I think it would make sense to do it during the drawdown.
And we're not voting to approve this right now because Matt, had asked for a continuation to 5/7, to add those notes and extra information, to the project information, but, it seems like some of us are inclined to add that condition. We can actually vote on it at the next meeting, I think. Is anybody opposed and want to add, the extra flexibility to allow this during, high water times or lake fill times? And nobody's speaking up in that regard, Matt, so I think you kind of know which way the commission's leaning. Okay, we do have a request for continuation to 5/7. I'm looking for a motion on behalf of the commission.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Second from Jeff. Roll call vote, Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Hi.
Chris,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
and I for myself.
So,
Okay, Matt, we're
Madam Chair,
yes.
really quick, just noting that I do have another Zoom meeting scheduled May 7th at 7:05. I'm like first up on their agenda in Lincoln.
Mhm.
If I could be scheduled farther down on your agenda, so we don't have
Okay.
a conflict on times.
Yeah, I'll make that note, Matt. Thanks for bringing that up.
No, thank you. I appreciate the flexibility.
Okay, well, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks. Okay, moving along, Four Cove Road. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Brian and Katie Fox for the construction and addition to a single-family home, including a new first-floor bedroom, drive-under garage, removal of an existing garage within the 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area. Do we have Brian or Katie and/or their representative here with us tonight?
Madam Chair, Greg Roy with Dillison Roy. I'm representing the applicant. I do believe that at least Brian, if not Brian and Katie, are also on the call this evening.
Very good.
Would it be appropriate to share my screen?
Yes, please.
All right, bear with me. Okay, how's that?
Okay.
Our videos on. Hi, this is Brian and Katie.
How we doing?
Hey, Brian and Katie.
Hi.
So, a couple of opening remarks here, and I should have probably done this during public comment, but I didn't think quick enough. But I was thinking about it because my first comment here was that I'm standing in for Ryan Proctor this evening, who's been working on this project. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that express condolences to the Proctor family and actually the Latanzi family at large. John Latanzi passed away last week. John Latanzi was a member that of this commission for a number of years that I had the privilege of sitting on the commission with back maybe 15, 20 years ago, whenever it was that I was on the commission. Longtime conservation minded person, outdoor enthusiast, really just a great guy. So just condolences to the Latanzi family tonight. Today was
Thank you, Greg.
Today was the funeral, so Ryan has been off doing family duty on that. So, we're here tonight to look at Four Cove Road, which is right on the corner of Sandy Cove Road and Cove Road, which is on Hickory Hills Lake. I believe it's known as Little Hickory Lake. It's the portion of the lake that's sort of separated off to the north if you will. And we started working with the Foxes about two or so years ago on this project. They're intending to construct an addition on the site. If you can all see my screen, the proposed addition is shown in the brown hatch area here. The green line that we have shown here on the bottom of the screen is the location of the limit of the bordering vegetated wetland at the site. And the corresponding orange dotted lines are the limit of the 30 and then 50-foot offsets, no structure offset. And then the outer one here is the limit of the 100-foot buffer zone. So just to put this in the context of the greater permitting that's going on here, the first stop was to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals because the proposed structure is located within the setback, the zoning setback. We have done that. The Zoning Board of Appeals has granted the required zoning relief for that for the project to move forward. Of note here is that the brown structure that we're showing is actually going to be replacing the red dotted structure that's shown on the plan. So that's going to be removed, obviously, because it's within the footprint. And essentially, from a conservation standpoint, we're actually moving the structure further away from the lake. So we'll be moving it up gradient by, say 10 or 15 feet. So from a conservation standpoint, it'll actually be improving relative to the existing structure that's there today. And then part of this proposed structure is to create a garage. So in order to access the garage, we of course need to construct a driveway. So we're showing the driveway highlighted in gray on the plan. We are proposing to pave the driveway, and just where it lays on the property, there's an existing curb cut access on Cove Road that's been used historically to access this portion of the property. We're proposing to align the new the paved driveway in that existing area, which is why we're showing it where it is. There are a couple of trees that would need to come down as a part of this project, and they're circled in red. There's an 18-inch. All of them are deciduous, probably oak trees, but I'm not sure. 18-inch tree here, a 28-inch tree here, and a 34-inch tree here, which is sort of right on the edge of this existing structure. Working backwards, the 34-inch tree is approximately 75 feet from the edge of the wetland, so it's within it's between 50 and 100 feet. The 28-inch tree is the only one that's within the 50-foot zone. But it is outside of the 30-foot no-touch zone. So we're not proposing any work within the 30-foot no-touch zone for this project. So no waivers are being requested or required. And then the 18-inch tree here on the opposite side is outside of the 50. It's approximately 60 feet from the edge of the wetland. This bubbled area that you can see, if I can highlight here, is the location of the existing septic system leaching field. So these trees here really need to go relative to their proximity to the wetland, to the septic system, which, in addition to sort of logistics with getting the driveway in there, that's really why we're proposing them to be removed. And then also this one, it's so close to this existing structure that we just think it's going to need to be taken down. We are showing, of course, an erosion control barrier, which is shown in this heavy dashed line right here. Again, you can see no work proposed within the 30-foot no-touch zone, no structures proposed within the 50-foot. There is a small amount of work to construct this driveway in the 50-foot no structure zone, but we don't believe that runs afoul of your regulations. We did receive a DEP number for this one. There were two comments. One was, this seems to be a general comment nowadays. One was questioning the filing fees. So we used a category 1A, which is work on a single family lot. I mean, as long as I've been doing this, this project squarely falls within a category 1A fee. You can't build a house without building, doing some site work. So we've always interpreted that as you've got the house that the addition that you're putting in and the associated site work. So we don't see that the filing fee was made in error. And then the second comment was to submit rationale for how the wetlands were delineated. This is becoming a uniform comment, which we're adjusting to. This particular project we started working on 2 or 3 years ago, and back then DEP wasn't really asking for these type of forms. So just to be very clear, the wetlands were delineated based on hydrology, soils, and vegetation, just like they have been for as long as I've been doing this. We have now submitted a wetland delineation report. I think we uploaded it to the portal. So that's there just for backup. And those were the only 2 comments from DEP. So I think that's all. I'm happy to take any questions.
Chris,
Yeah, Greg, is that big tree, the 36, is the only reason it has to come down is because you can't work around it to take down the structure? Is that the reason?
So to be quite honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why they're proposing that. If either Katie or if the applicants want to weigh in here, that would be welcome, Katie or Brian, if you have
Sure.
any
Hey,
comments.
Greg, yeah, Brian here, if this is working. I'm
It
still
is.
new with this whole, the technology thing is tough for me, but I think I got it figured out here. That 36-inch tree is actually in the existing structure. Like the
Okay.
wall is like cut around it. And it's all damaged inside, and the tree's kind of really big enough to hit the house no matter which way it falls. And it's kind of been on our radar for a while. It drops branches on that garage there. It drops stuff everywhere. And it was more, a hazard than anything. But since we're going to be there anyways, that's why we figured we'd probably lose the tree at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
other questions or comments from members of the commission? Rich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greg, no issues putting the driveway over the top of the septic system like that?
We have vetted that, Rich. Excellent question. We're specifying, one of the reasons we're putting it on the lower side, Rich, is so that we can add some fill and make sure we have at least an 18-inch separation. And so we have some specifications on the plan for that purpose. So no, we don't see any issues with that.
Okay. So you've gone in and checked the septic system so it is functioning properly and the piping can take the extra weight without worries of crushing any of it?
Correct. And that's our opinion.
Okay.
I'm not certain if the Board of Health has weighed in on that or not, or if they even need to. But I think, it's our opinion that that's all satisfactory. That, of course, would be a separate approval process if they needed, some other documentation with the Board of Health, but, yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
question.
If I could just chime in real quick, I think the Board of Health had already addressed all that, and that was why they deemed,
Yeah.
doing the fill was the way to go.
I think that's one of the reasons why there was a delay between coming to your board. We did the ZBA permitting maybe almost 6 months ago. And that was one of the questions we wanted to get solved. And that was thank you for opining on that, Brian.
Yeah, thanks.
Again, Ryan Proctor has been taking the torch on this one. So thank you.
Other questions or comments from members of the commission? Jeff?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. Just for informational purposes, can you pull the stumps of those trees or do you have to grind them? with the septic that close?
We would likely grind them.
Okay, so there,
We
there's
would
prob-
recommend grinding them, yes.
Okay, all right.
Definitely
just to
the
make sure.
definitely the 18-inch. The 28-inch might be far enough away, but honestly, probably not. We'd probably just grind them in place.
Okay. And then I assume the driveway kind of has to go in that position to slightly go into that 50-foot no structure because of the fill.
Yeah, we want to get in a fill condition over the septic system. We also want to dodge around this. Can you see right here? There's a utility pole. So we have to kind of go on either side of the utility pole.
Gotcha.
And there's an existing access that kind of comes in here
Okay.
now, so we're just kind of formalizing it. So it made the most sense.
Excellent. Thank you.
You know, we might take out this 28-inch and just do it really, really easily, really gingerly. Just because it'd be nice not to have the
Yeah.
roots decaying underneath the pavement over time.
That would just be
Um,
terrible. If that pool just started to fill with water.
Yes.
So yeah, good luck.
So I would assume they would probably be ground, but there's a chance they might try to pull out at least some of the 28-inch. Maybe it'd be, I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how that goes in the field, but.
Other questions or comments? Is the commission ready to make a motion?
I
I
am.
haven't heard. Okay, Chris,
I motion we approve as proposed.
okay,
Second.
with the standard order of conditions, Jeff. Okay, roll call vote, Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny.
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, to continued public hearings, 215 Sunset Lane. And I think we have the same engineer, that, had asked for a continuation to 221 Electric Ave. So I don't know if you meant to ask for continuation for both of them. We have, go ahead.
So are you doing, this is 215 Sunset next?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, I'm getting as confused with there's another
Yeah.
one that's like 215 Electric Ave.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep, okay. Well, then I'll read through the script.
Awesome.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by David and Brenda Pachari for the construction of a driveway and single-family home within the 100-foot buffer zone of Lake Shirley at 215 Sunset Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greg Roy, Dillson Roy, representing the applicant this evening. I think that the Pajaris, at least some of them, are on the call.
Yes,
May I share my screen?
yes, please.
Okay, so we opened this meeting 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I can't remember.
Last meeting.
The last meeting, yeah. And at that time, DEP had issued a file number. I think that we had, I honestly, I don't remember. I don't even know if there was file of comments on this one, but if there were, I think we had addressed them at that initial meeting. We left the opening meeting with 4 comments from the commission, which we've addressed with plan revisions here, and I'll just want to go over them one by one. The first was to add a tracking pad for erosion control. There's going to be quite a bit of earthwork on this project, so it was requested that we add a stone tracking pad at the entrance so that any mud and sediment can be knocked off the truck wheels before they go onto the public way. So that was a great catch. So we did add that. The second was to address stormwater runoff from the driveway. So we have tweaked the grades to super elevate them towards the center towards the as you're going down the driveway towards the right of the driveway, and we've included a stone infiltration trench right along the edge of this driveway. We have the advantage here of very permeable sand and gravel. So we believe this is a very effective solution here. Third was to address stormwater runoff off of the roof. So we have proposed, again, taking advantage of the deep sand and gravel that we have here. We're proposing drip line infiltration right here along the two sides, the two major sides of the roof eaves, so that this would be just a stone trench at the foundation level that would accept that drip runoff and infiltrate that into the ground so that it wouldn't run off. On the front of the property, we believe the trench here along the driveway will catch any runoff that comes off, not allowing it to run off site. So that was the third thing. And then the fourth thing was to beef up the the construction sequence. So we added some language here relative to restorations of the slopes and how we want that to be done, sooner rather than later. We don't want exposed slopes to be left for a long time, so we want to restore those as soon as possible after they're rough graded. And I believe that was all the open comments that you folks had, but I'm happy to take any questions.
That's all I had in my notes, Greg. So thank you for that. But of course, the commission is free to add comments. I might have overlooked something as well.
Yep.
Those were the four I was tracking. Are there any other questions or comments from members of the commission? Mike.
Yes, Madam Chair. Greg, did you mention whether or not DEP and it had any comments on this one?
So, boy,
They did, but I think they were addressed.
I think we had addressed them last meeting, yeah, but let me see what they were. I have it open. Hold.
Okay.
Are you seeing my screen as I'm doing this? Oh yeah, I remember. So I'll just read the comments here. The project is proposed on multiple properties. Form 3 should be updated to reflect this. We've already done the land swap, so it looks a little confusing, but we've already taken care of that. So it is in fact just one applicant owner here. So I think we're okay. The second was a zone AE FEMA flood zone, which corresponds to the bordering land subject to flooding is associated with Lake Shirley. On and on and on and on. That is located on the opposite side of Lake Shirley. We had added that to the plan on this dash dot line right here. That's the limit of the FEMA floodplain, so it's nowhere near. It's on the complete opposite side of the street.
Yeah.
So I think both of those comments have been resolved.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
There are no further questions from members of the commission. Do we have any comments, questions from members of the public? I'm seeing none. Scroll
Madam
through
Chair?
our, yes, Greg.
If you're inclined to make a motion on this, I think the other thing I mentioned at the last meeting was if you could put some language in your standard erosion control condition that requires the SWIP, EPA SWIP. This one is about 30,000 square feet of land disturbance, so does not require the preparation of a SWIP, stormwater pollution prevention plan, as would be required from the EPA for sites altering more than an acre of land. So we would not require that on this case. So we would appreciate it if you could work that into a motion, if you are so inclined.
What does SWIP stand for again? Stormwater?
Stormwater pollution prevention plan. And it's a required document to prepare if you need to have coverage under the NIPD's permit for construction sites that alter more than an acre of land. So for these smaller house lot projects, many of them don't rise to that level of permitting. And this would be one of them.
I'm amenable to that. And
It just
I'll,
creates, if when you have it as a boilerplate condition, which I don't necessarily object to, but I just feel like you should put some language in there, like if more than an acre of land is disturbed or something like that, that just acknowledges that not all sites require it.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and you did talk about that and help us understand it a lot better last
Yep.
time, Greg, which I also appreciate. I mean, I'm amenable to adding that as a
Thank you.
comment. Do I have with that comment? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jeff, sorry, Jenny, and then Mike, Jenny for the original motion and Mike for the second. Roll call vote, Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Bye.
Chris,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Moving along, 390 Howard Street. Do we have 390 Howard Street here tonight? Any representatives?
Yes, this Chuck Karen Environmental Consulting, representing Mr. O'Brien.
Very good.
I can share my screen and get the plan up. Hopefully. There we go. So this has been a long saga, a painful one to get to this point. Just to refresh everyone's memory, there was an ANRAD filed on this back in about a year ago, I believe. I wasn't involved at the very beginning of the process. As part of that, what was done was they took my office had delineated this wetland close to 20 years ago. Initially they started out by reestablishing all the old wetlands by survey. And then the commission hired Art Allen from Ecotech to review the delineation. Based on his review, it turned out that the wetlands over the intervening 20 years have expanded dramatically on the site. I think that's from a combination of kind of the agricultural abandonment that took place here. So there's no longer that maintenance of a lot of old drainage ditches and things. And the construction activity that Mr. O'Brien started on the site that has some extensive areas that were cleared and opened up. So over the course of last summer and early fall, we went out, delineated all the areas that Art Allen had identified. And also there was one small area that I came across that I thought where the wetland had expanded that Art hadn't picked up on. So I also included that area. So the wetlands are primarily on this western portion of the site, and then on the eastern third or half of the site. The center, there's very little there. So that over these intervening years, the wetlands have expanded small amounts along portions of the old delineation, but then there were, I guess I would say, 3 areas where there were huge increases in the extent of the wetlands. One of those is kind of this entire, I should put out, the wetlands on the site in have this stipling on it. And I'm just kind of showing you the overview plan, because if you go by sheet with that have the details of flag numbers, it's very hard to follow along where we are in the site. So there was a big expansion of the wetlands in this area. There was a road cut in to come down to a possible well. And I think because of that arc across the slope and some trenching that went along it, it picks up a lot of water. So the wetlands now expanded down into here, and then this whole big swath right in here was not there before. The second area where there's a lot more wetland is back up in here in a piece that I believe is part of the project, is going to be going to the town. There's a new wetland in this area that actually connects by a little eroded channel down to the old wetland, and then a large isolated wetland in here. You can see from the old plan, there used to be a big chicken coop in here. This whole site was a chicken farm at one point. And this is kind of a strange area that this is wet already, because this building only came down about 5 or 6 years ago, I believe. And Mr. O'Brien said he ended up spreading, this whole area had been disturbed in the intervening years, and only about 2 years ago had spread topsoil across all the disturbed areas in there. And these wetland areas have just popped up almost instantly. I think the soil is just extremely compacted. I recall looking at this, trying to see what the soil was like, and they couldn't even get the auger in the ground more than an inch or two anywhere. So I think probably that past farming, whatever was going on in that area, left things very compacted. The third large area of additional wetlands is this arc of wetlands down in here. And this is actually a road that was cut through this area. It was great initially constructed. It was deep enough that it was picking up some groundwater, plus the surface runoff being in an arc across the slope like that. So essentially, that roughly graded road bed turned into a wetland in that whole area. Now, I said there was lots of other smaller expansion of the wetlands. So basically, as a result of this, it looks, I didn't do an exact calculation, but there's several acres of additional wetlands over what had been here 20 years ago. So I mean, that's basically where we stand right now. I just got this plan with the final last few little cleanup items we needed done on the plan from Haley Ward yesterday, and I'm not quite sure of their process. They have to send it to their office in Portsmouth to get stamped. So we aren't at the end of the process yet. We need that stamp plan back from them, and at that point, Art has looked this over. He's just waiting to have the final stamp plan so he can write his final letter report for the commission. Since we've been in correspondence with him, I would be surprised if any new issues came up, as he seemed happy with things as it stands at this point.
In reading through your commentary, you made a note about flagged area E, that it had some inadvertent damage done to it, which had been historical, but I just couldn't find it on the drawing. And as you say, the drawings are pretty complex, but
Yes.
What area is that?
That is up in this area in here.
Okay.
It was right at the edge of the area he had cleared,
Mhm.
and they had gone in a few hundred square feet, inadvertently gone into the very end of that finger of wetlands. I'm not sure exactly. I know when Matt Morrow was involved is when that was discovered, and is my understanding the commission was aware of it, and they corrected that disturbance and seeded it, and it looks like the rest of the wetlands now, and it looks like it actually, the restoration work expanded it by several hundred square feet in that area, actually.
Okay. Do we have any questions from members of the commission? Okay, so, Rich,
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read the report. Do we have square footage that the wetlands increased on this site?
I didn't calculate it out exactly. I just kind of threw a scale down quick, and it's a rough number. I had figured something in the range of like 8 to 10 acres.
8 to 10 acres that the original wetlands increased.
Yes.
Okay.
that's a lot.
Yes. Very
Do you have
surprising.
any estimate of how much acreage the wetland encompassed before, just in round numbers?
Well, I don't, honestly, I don't. I just, like I said, I had just
Okay,
scaled
was
off,
curious.
very roughly scaled those big areas of expansion just to get a rough idea, but
Yeah,
um,
fair enough. That's a lot of detailed work if you don't just have a computer CAD program to take it all off for you. So I was curious. Chris,
Yeah, are we making a determination, or is this an informational tonight? I'm just trying to understand what we're, is just an explanation that the wetlands has grown tonight? Is there an action for us?
I don't think there can be an action until we have the final stamped drawings, and then also have our consultants confirmation that the final stamped drawings are aligned with what he saw on the site.
yeah,
Okay,
I was
the
going to
next question.
ask for a continuance, but I wanted to get the discussion back before the commission because this has dragged on so long. I didn't want to.
Are we going to entertain a wetlands expert when we get those plans back? This is a complicated property.
Well, we already have retained a wetland specialist, Art Allen from Ecotech.
And he's gonna
we
look
have-
at, what Charles comes back with after it gets stamped. So he's gonna look at that stamped document.
Well, yeah,
That,
yes.
go
He was
ahead,
out,
Chuck.
he went out in the field after we had his initial report of what areas need to be delineated. We did the delineation. We walked all those areas with Art, so he confirmed that in the field everything was good. He's looked at these preliminary plans as we've gone through the process too, so he knows what's coming along. So basically, we're just waiting for that stamp plan for him to finalize everything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? And so Chuck, thank you for coming in and updating us on this, because yes, it has been dragging out. And
Thank you for your patience.
well, so the thing to note is that we're at the straw and hairy edge of losing quorum through attrition on the commission. And so if we lose that quorum, then it'll have to be re-notified, and we'll have to recommission it.
Yep.
And start anew. No, we won't have to go through having to get new peer review or anything like that. We can use all the documentation that already is part of the historical evidence and whatnot. But just to make sure you're aware, and please make certain your client is aware and Haley Ward is aware that there should be no moss growing at this stage of the game.
Yep.
Because they
I-
risk adding a headache that they don't need to have.
Yes, I don't see any reason we won't have this ready for the next meeting. I will be very upset if that's the case.
Yeah. And then there have been historical violations there, but we'll have to address that as a separate matter, and we'll have to address that as a separate matter when our administrator is back in the office. She is currently out, so we're not able to discuss any of that tonight. And so Chuck, you asked for a continuation to when?
For your next meeting date would be,
That is May 7th.
okay.
So I'm looking for a motion to continue by the commission.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, thank you, Rich, and thank you. Oh, Jeff, you had a question
Yeah, I
or
guess
comment.
if we could just get the plans at least a few days before the meeting so that we can review them as well. If it is ready for the next meeting, that would be
Yep, we will
super
do that.
beneficial for us.
Yep. Sophia has this plan, and like I said, the only thing that should change is the survey is stamp going on it at this point, so.
Okay.
And they're
Excellent.
in the because there's nobody to move them into tonight's folder, Jeff, they were actually in the April 2nd folder.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so there's that, there's and Chuck's letter is also in that folder as well. But I'm glad you brought it up, Jeff, too, because I had to go hunting around and I didn't have the wherewithal to tell everybody where I found it. So
Okay. Yeah,
so
I
I'm
was kind of
certain
hunted. I guess I quit before.
yeah,
So,
it's
thanks.
probably useful for everybody. So I'm glad you asked it out loud. Okay, so we have a motion by Rich Birch and second by Jenny to continue. Roll call vote. Jenny,
aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Pete.
I'm supposed to say no because I'm not
Oh,
on.
yeah.
So no.
I don't think there's any issue with you voting on the continuance. It's voting on the approval that we have to be careful on.
And I should continue.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay, thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Okay, and 221 Electric Ave is the one that was requested for continuation to May 7th, so you don't have to read that one in.
So I'm not seeing the button to unshare this. Why is that happening?
That's okay. I can make I can actually stop your video.
Okay, I don't know where it's hiding. Sorry
Stop
about
your
that.
share.
Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, executive control. Stop participant sharing. Okay, the next two. Oh, I do have 201 Leominster Shirley Road on this application. And this is do we have that applicant here tonight? They were here before the meeting.
Do we need to vote on continuing 221 Electric?
They notified us ahead of the meeting, Rich, and we have not been doing a vote on those when they have notified us ahead of the meeting. You probably are more expert in process than I am, but we haven't
Yeah,
been
just-
doing that if we didn't read them
Because
in.
They've requested it, we still have to vote and continue it.
Well, I'm happy to do that. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Daniel Sheehan, Paley Ward Construction for construction of a two-family dwelling and rain garden within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland located at 221 Electric Ave. Yeah, and we were notified of a continuance request to May 7th by Daniel Sheehan.
So moved.
Do we have? Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
And did we have the date that we're continuing it to?
May 7th.
Okay.
So I heard Rich with the original motion and Chris with the second. Just making a quick note. Roll call vote. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. All right, so we do have 201 on. I was just looking to see who had been on the call earlier asking about that one. They may have gotten confused about the executive session that we had to open meeting for and then go into. It was Matt Donovan. I don't see Matt on the call. Okay. Since Matt I think got confused by our proceedings tonight, I'm looking for a motion to continue 201 Leominster Shirley Road to May 7th.
So moved.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, I heard Rich, and who's my second?
Second.
Thanks, Jenny. Roll call vote for continuation to May 7th. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. And then 67 Island Road, we were already tracking to May 7th. Okay, administrative determinations. 10 Sandy Cove Road was on earlier, but had to drop. And I don't think we've had any, Sophie's not done any site visits there. Do we have 7 Park Street folks on the
Yes.
call tonight?
Yes, you're here. This is Adam Levine, and my husband Nate Stewart is also here as well.
Okay. Adam Levine and Nate Stewart. And you reside at 7 Park Terrace?
7 Park Street Terrace. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what it is you are asking to do here.
Sure. Yeah. So we are just requesting to replace our existing roll-in dock with a new one. Same size. The existing one is 24 feet, and we are requesting to replace it with a new 24-foot roll-in dock. I can share my screen if that would be
Oh,
helpful.
that'd be great.
Okay. 1 second. Okay. So I'm not sure if it was just showing the one tab, or can you see? I'm on the OpenGov application. You can
I
see that.
see it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So I believe Sophie came a while back to do a site visit, and she took a couple of pictures of the current dock. So actually, I think I have it open here. Yeah. So this is the current dock. And then this was the other picture that she took, just showing the rest of the beach area. And then this is just an overall satellite view showing the placement of the existing dock. And this is a picture of the new dock that we're hoping to replace it with. Just noting that we would also install poles on this end. For some reason, the picture doesn't show poles on this end, but we would support it on that end as well.
Okay. And why are you replacing it?
So we bought our house about a year and a half ago, and it was already quite old at that point. So it was something that we were hoping to do, within a short amount of time, replace it with a new one. It's it's been a little damaged over the years, and just like to have a new one.
Okay. Yeah, I just, curious about why you want to replace it. Okay.
Oh,
And you said it's the same size, it's the same location as the existing?
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Any other questions by members of the commission? And I'm seeing none. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Rich. Maybe I lost Rich. No, Rich is there. He's on mute. We'll come back to Rich. So I had an aye from
Sorry
Jenny.
about that.
Oh,
Yeah, I have an eye.
aye for Rich. Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Pete.
I,
Okay, very good. You do have to wait for written permission from our office. I'm hoping our administrator will be back at her desk soon. And if not, follow up with the land use office. Okay,
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
thank you. Okay. So I see proposed project change, but that may actually be a error from that we just didn't clean up from the last meeting. Do we have anyone from 7-Eleven? Jeff? Yes.
I just had a question on the last application.
Oh,
Was
sorry.
no, that's okay. I raised it after the vote, but
Okay.
was that actually required? I mean, if they're just replacing the same dock, it
I
seems
don't-
like it's a lot of paperwork to do. I mean, maybe we should educate Sophie and say if it's a dock for a dock and it's already permitted, it's not really required, right?
I've got no opposition from me on that. We don't need more decisions coming in here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she would probably be amenable to that that type of
Okay, yeah.
guidance.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fair question. 7-Eleven Mass Ave, do we have anybody for that? And Mike, you have a question?
Yeah, did we skip over 67 Island Road?
67 Island Road. Oh, no, 67, they were had already several meetings ago asked for a continuation to May 7th.
And we voted
To continue it.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry. That's
it's
all I
like
want.
I don't know, like maybe in early March that we had that dialogue.
I was having deja vu all over again.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
I'm actually glad you asked me a question I have the right answer for, so thank you for that. I can always use those little ego points after these meetings. Okay, 7-Eleven, there is nobody here for that. I think that's a typo left over from the last agenda that didn't get cleaned up. Okay, violations and enforcement. I do see people on the call tonight about that. So I think let's call on yeah, first off, let's talk first to Melissa McGain because she had been talking to me in chat, right? And I can't actually handle well listening to the meeting and talking in chat. And so Melissa, you had identified there had been a certificate of compliance request. Maybe she's left us now.
I gotcha. I was muted. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So there was
What was the question?
You had identified a certificate of compliance request for 691 Chase Road.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's not on the agenda for tonight.
Right. I'd gotten a, an invite for tonight, so I was just confused.
Well, it's probably, yeah, so our administrator that handles our office affairs had to unexpectedly go out, on a short-term leave of absence.
Oh,
And
okay.
we don't right now know when she'll be able to return, but I'm told from the town manager that we expect it to be very brief. So
Okay.
the land, and unfortunately, just perfect storm. The land use her manager is also out. There's no assistant in the office. That's an open rec as well. And so Logan, whose primary job is land use administration, has been trying to keep all of the balls in the air. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
All right.
I
So
would say
I'll,
follow up with LCC at lunenburgmass.gov.
okay.
And hopefully my hope is that our administrator will be back in. They can go out and do a site walk and we can get this done at the next meeting.
Okay, terrific. Thank
And
you.
I apologize for the inconvenience.
No problem.
Okay,
Have
very
a great
good.
night.
That's unfortunately a long time to hang out to just hear that we're not going to get to her business. That's sorry
Understandable.
about that. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay,
Okay.
so moving along, the chapter lanes are here, and the chapter lanes are here about is it 199 Mass Ave?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that had been reported into the office as some activity going on in the wetland area. I don't know if we have anything in our files about it. I was just gonna go look to see. Do you want to tell us about what's going on back there?
Actually, we didn't think anything was going on until we
Oh,
got
really?
a visitation, but it's been an ongoing project. As you may or may not be aware, our property has been for sale. I'm sorry, this is Mark Chapdelaine. And by default, I'm Mike.
Okay. And what is your actual residence address?
I'm at 208 Leominster Road in Lunenburg. And I'm
Very good.
And I'm at 102 Fairview Road in Lunenburg.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
And obviously
So
the property in question is at 199 Mass Ave in Lunenburg.
very good.
So anyway, we listed our property for sale in 2023. And we had discussion with our real estate agent about doing little projects around the property. And it was suggested not to spend any money or to make any changes to the property, because you never know who's going to buy it, what they're going to do with it. And we agreed to that. But after showing the properties to several people that were interested and having, there was a deal that changed that we had before we even listed the property, and that got delayed because of a zoning issue with our property, where we assumed that we had almost 17 acres of commercial land, only to find out that a large portion of it was actually residential A, which was due to a mistake when the zoning was incorporated. And it took a year to get that straightened out, and we lost that particular customer. But we lost the second customer just because they found another property. But what we heard as we were showing the property was that, oh, it's not as big out here as we thought it was. And we tried to explain to them that, it was because over the years we've let the woods kind of grow in all around it, and it kind of shrunk it. And there was also an area in the middle of it that had a pile of fill that had been there for quite a while, and it grew its own little forest out of it. So we did in fact invest some money in having a lot of the underbrush and the growth that came up cut down. And also the growth that came on this pile of fill cut down. And it really opened things up. And it was our intention to level off that pile of fill. That led to us starting to do some cleanup out back. As you may or may not know, at one point many years ago, that was a salvage yard. So we thought it would be a good idea to clean up. As we took some of the trees down, we found remnants of that junkyard, so we started cleaning that up. And that's when apparently, I'm not realizing it, got too close. I think it was Sophie that had stopped at the dealership.
Yeah, she never saw us. She saw the person that was doing some tree cutting.
Yeah, it was one last section of tree cutting that we wanted to get done just to kind of square the openness off. So the property now is, we stopped doing what we're doing as her request. And the property now, we're in the middle of this cleanup, and there's some stumps that we were airing out so that we could transport them and get rid of them. And some sheet metal that we pulled from around the property, miscellaneous tires and wheels that we found. All of that is now in that back section of the property. Looks a little unsightly, and we'd like to finish that, but we were agreeing with her cease and desist until we had this get together. Aside from cleaning up those materials, the project is pretty much done and the clearing is done.
What did she cite as the issue when she was out there?
Well, we really don't know because we did not speak with her.
Oh, and the person that she talked to didn't relate any issue
Yeah,
to you?
he was a tree guy. He just said, yes, ma'am. They were, most of what they were doing was chipping some existing trees that were down, again, as part of the final phase of just finishing up this project to try to make the property a little more saleable, and to, some people didn't have a lot of imagination as to visualizing the size of the property. So the cleanup was a two-phase thing. It was for cleaning up the property, and it was for making it a little bit more showable, if you will.
Sure, that's understandable. I looked at the map on Mass Mapper. Let's see if I can share that.
Probably still shows that back section as residential A.
Mass Mapper maybe has that level of detail, but I don't have the skill set to get there. Yeah, so this is Mass Mapper, and this is your property, right? So it shows the whole network of wetlands back here.
Yeah.
And of course, you shouldn't be cutting down any trees within those, 30, 50, 100 foot buffer zones without permission. So
Right.
is that essentially what was happening?
Yeah, that's essentially, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then the next step would be to actually ask for that permission and give us a diagram of what it is that you are doing and where you're cutting.
Yeah.
And then, what we would be looking for is for you to affirm that within the 30-foot buffer zones, you have not touched any vegetation, or, you would replace whatever may have been inadvertently touched.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Is someone going to do or does that happen after the fact of actually doing a site review or
Yeah, we would like to have somebody come by and do that, and we can show them the scope of the work that we've done.
Well, I mean, Sophie can, but usually usually the way it's supposed to happen, right, is that if you're doing any work within those buffer zones, you actually apply, right? Make an application, and an RDA is usually what it is, you know, a request for determination. And you say, oh, you know, got a commercial, all the stuff you just did, got a commercial property, yada, yada, yada. Here are the wetlands. And here are the areas where I'm cutting down the, you know, need to cut down the trees, right? And here are the places where I'm ensuring the buffer zone, you know, maybe pre-disturbed areas, and then, you know, protecting the buffer zone in the other areas or whatnot, not having walked out there. I'm got some hypothetical comment, right? And then when you file that application, Sophia would go out there and do that review, and then would come back to us and say, hey, that makes sense, or, you know, oh no, I don't think that makes sense for whatever reason, X, Y, or Z, right? And you know, we'd have another conversation about it.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate process.
Yeah, I apologize because I don't have it with me, but we did get a letter.
Mhm.
And there was language exactly what you had said.
Okay.
But it did say cease and desist in the areas of that were in question.
Mhm.
Does that mean that we can't move forward with the rest of our cleanup that is not in that area?
No, I have not seen that letter. But I would take the letter as it's.
We got it via email, and we also got it via US mail.
Oh, good.
Actually, we got it hand delivered to us.
So do you have a copy
Yeah.
that you could share with us right now?
That's why I said I apologize. I thought I had thrown it in my truck when I came over to Mike's house to take part in this meeting.
Right, it was dated April 1st, and it was from the Conservation Commission office.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately, it didn't get moved into our meeting folder. We here on the commission are all volunteers, and our office are the paid employees, and they need to move things into our semi-public access for us to be able to see it. I didn't find it anywhere. I don't know if anybody else, other commissioners, have you looked, and you know, if I'm overlooking it.
But if I read it correctly, if that verbiage is in there, that's what I was just looking for clarification as to whether
if it directs you to stop in specific areas, my assumption is that you would not have to stop in the other areas. I don't know if anybody else,
we just wanna-
Rich, you know,
it's,
you go through this more than me.
if we have a prospective buyer, we would
Mhm.
like to get the rest of that stuff cleaned up. Like I said, it's not anywhere near this area. And if it was in the area of question, we would of course leave it there, but it's got nothing to do with it's stuff on the surface.
Okay. And so you're clear though that the next step also would be to file an RDA for the work that's been done that should have been permitted?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Questions?
that's
Yeah,
done
go
from
ahead.
your office. I guess we typically use Dillis and Roy. Is that something that they could do?
Oh yeah, they would be all over this, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And as far as getting on the next available agenda,
It might be tough, timing wise, because you're gonna have to notify on that. And I don't know what, you know, of course, it's a busy time for any consultant, so I don't know what, Dillis and Roy's availability is either.
right? Okay. Again, just in the interest of getting that, not having to drag out all summer.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right. You've got a financial interest here that you kind of want to move fast on. I'm certainly sympathetic to that.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from members of the commission? I'm not seeing any. Okay. Well, thanks for showing up tonight and giving us a rundown on what you were doing. And
thank you.
hopefully we get that RDA quickly and can act on it quickly for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Okay. I see a member of the public on named Nancy. Nancy, would you unmute yourself and let us know the business that you're here for so we can prioritize that for you?
Yes, I'm Nancy Chapdelaine. I was here just in
Oh,
support
okay.
of my husband and my brother-in-law.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very
Okay.
good.
Thank you for checking.
Yeah, I always don't, it's, you've had to wait long enough. I don't want anybody to have to wait any
No, I
longer than they
appreciate
have
that.
to.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
concern.
Okay. All right. And
Okay.
I don't have any updates on anything else in the okay, in the violations list. I don't know why 950 Chase Road is on for violations. I lost track of that.
Isn't that can come off now, can it?
Well, the encroachment piece of it, I did take off of it, but I don't know why it was there for a violation, or I've lost track of why it was.
Oh, I just chalked that.
Oh, I know why it was there for a violation. It was some vegetation that had been cut down up where the old snowmobile trail had been. And that's actually, on town property and within, the buffer zones. That's why it was there. But that property did change hands. Hopefully that gets into a better state of custodialship now. Okay, moving along. New business. Seems like, guys, it's been a really busy couple of days since Sophie's been out. And you may not know it, but a lot of people are bumping things to me for support. I just don't have the cycles to support it, right? I've got a really busy day job, but I try to let people know, and that's taken a lot of time. I think somebody told me something to look at in the past 48 hours, but I can't remember what it is for the life of me. Peer review process is still on here. We're tracking that. I do firmly believe that the office should consult, ask or raise a horizontal engineering consulting RFQ. I just have to circle back to folks to get some feedback on how many hours we think is reasonable to put on there. Then, of course, we would be, as we see those projects come up that we want consulting review on, we would manage that under individual quotes and applicant budget support. And one thing, so any questions or comments there? I haven't progressed it since the last time we talked about it. Moving along to the next one, default continuation practice. We have had a practice here that if applicants do not show up, we have given a presumption of request for continuation by them not being here. And I understand from town council that that is a bad practice to have. And so the recommendation is that moving forward, and I think maybe starting next month, right? We should start not doing that. And if you don't show up for a hearing and there's not, some kind of good reason, like I was in the hospital and it was an emergency, you got to start all over. Because what Adam was telling me is that the WPA does not allow for us to continue. So we don't get the authority to continue something without the applicant's written requests for continuation, written or verbal. So if we have it recorded, that's recorded verbal request. If we have it written in email, that's written. Otherwise, we risk losing appeal due to the procedural error of not turning around the decision quickly enough. And I'm very interested in us not losing any of our jurisdictional, any of our jurisdiction. So something to take on board. Chris?
Yes, so in the event that an applicant doesn't show, do we vote on?
Of-
Like, what's the,
yeah.
what's the position?
We deliberate on the information that's been provided to us, and if we don't have enough information or there are questions we feel like we need answered, we have the wherewithal to deny the application.
Okay, so we will continue to, we will evaluate the, okay, okay.
Yeah, the application will stand on the merits of
Of its
itself,
application, okay.
right? And if it's incomplete, then we deny it. Or, you know, we take a vote, and that's the, you know, obviously the up to each individual conservation commissioner about whether they want to deny it or not. Rich.
So that was Adam's recommendation, or his advice was that if we continue without applicants' specific say-so, that we could lose on appeal due to lack of action?
Yes. If by doing so, we have taken, you know, too long to make the decision. You know, recall in our wetland regulation in the Wetland Protection Act, excuse me, there's a certain number of days, like 21 days after the application is complete, to have a hearing, 21 days to deliberate, 21 days to issue the written decision. If that continuation might cause us to fail to execute within a timely fashion as stipulated by the regulation, yeah, Adam said that we are at risk of losing the appeal.
Okay, but there is no time sensitive issue once the hearing has been opened. There's no ticking clock. There's the 21 day from the time we receive the application to open the hearing.
Yes.
It's 21 days from the time we close the hearing to produce the decision and send out the order of condition, but there's no timeline once the first hearing has been opened to the point that it's closed.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so if it
Yeah.
was the first hearing, I could see that for sure.
Mhm.
Or if we've already closed or we are deliberating.
Hmm.
But I didn't think that there was any timeline once we've opened a hearing.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rich. I think you're right. So we have 21 days to open it. We have 21 days to deliberate after we've closed it, but there isn't a statutory limit on how long it takes to close it.
Right. So I guess I would be a little leery on just deciding and if there's not enough information once we've opened the hearing. But again, that's just my opinion, but I just wanted to get clarification on what his
Yeah.
direction was.
And I didn't talk to him about the once we've opened it, deliberating. But you know what, though? It came up in the context of 390 Howard Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I had given him a history of the project, right? That had
Yep.
been opened, you know, I think it was 23 October. I know it was October of 2023. I think actually it was 23 of October 2023. And that, you know, we have been going through a lot of Q&A with the applicant, right? We had peer review, paid for peer review. Now it was a matter of a lot of things. And I said, so right now, you know, we expect the applicant to come back with stamped engineering drawings, but he's been no show a lot of times. And we have been doing a default continuation. And that was at where Adam stepped in with the advice.
Okay. Yeah, and I can see in a case like that, we shouldn't be dragging it out because then we get into the catch-22 that we lose members and at some point we'll lose quorum and not be able to make a decision. And then there is lack of action issues if we can't make a decision even to deny it.
Well, Adam actually said that is a non-issue, because then that is actually, as long as we've been following procedural due diligence,
Mhm.
that we just notify the applicant that we need to reconstitute the commission, which is the technical term that he used.
Yeah.
And that means the applicant then has to re-notify, treat it as if it's new, but no new filing fees or anything like that. And then, we open the hearing again with the reconstituted members, which are all the members that sat on the Conservation Commission at that time. And the applicant has to kind of, reintroduce it and go through the details, and then we move it forward from that point. And that restarts the 21-day to hearing clock and the all the rest of the statutory timelines. But I do think that we want to be precise about what we're doing and how we're executing, because I mean, recently there have been some hearings that have brought this under a lot of scrutiny. So, Rich, why don't you and I maybe offline ask some very specific questions of Adam with our own kind of interpretation of what we think the act and the local regulations say or don't say, and make certain that we're getting the best guidance back to our fellow commissioners and to our office administrator that we can.
Agreed.
I also like to know what we're open to, Adam, when you talk to him, find out what we get exposed to by doing those defaults. That's what I'd like to understand more, because the way Rich explained, I don't see I'm not struggling to see the risk.
Well, so the risk is that the applicant appeals to the either to the DP or to the Superior Court, and they give a default approval. That's the risk. And that happened at 205 Sunset Lane, where we actually had heard the application, deliberated on it, issued a decision with some list of conditions, but because the office failed to, and we had interim administrators then, because the office failed to issue a timely written decision, we lost jurisdiction there. They appealed to DEP. Yeah, go ahead.
But that was default continuations part of that issue, or are you just bringing up something different?
The default continuations are put us at risk of that kind of thing happening. That's the bad thing that happens. You were asking what's the bad thing that happens with the default. So someone has to actually go to escalate to DEP or to Superior Court, right? If they escalate to DEP and DEP intervenes and issues their own determination, we lose all rights to our jurisdictional conditions. And that's what happened at Sunset Lane. We had applied a lot of local jurisdictional conditions to that particular parcel, and we lost all of those. There is no buffer zone in the Wetland Protection Act, right? You gotta get to riverfront before you start even talking about that kind of stuff, right? We lost all of our jurisdictional rights there because we failed to act. Rich?
I don't necessarily think that's correct. That if DEP intervenes, that
No, it is correct. I actually challenged that in great excruciating detail with Adam. And he brought up a long list of case law.
Yeah, because we had that exact case happen on I'm trying to think who it was or what the address was, but down on one of the fire roads,
Mm-hmm.
we had a house and we denied it, and they went back to DEP. DEP overturned our decision, but was not able to overturn our local jurisdiction because they
but
turn around and refile under the local bylaw.
But did they
And we have nothing in the bylaw that states
I
that
think
they have to wait so long to refile, or that there has to be any substantive change.
I think the difference, though, the key difference here is that you issued a written denial. And by doing that, you cemented your decision for both the Wetland Act and the local bylaw. But when we fail to issue a decision in a timely fashion, then we haven't we haven't issued anything on behalf of the local bylaw, that's where we are at risk of not losing all our jurisdictional rights.
Okay, so 205 was lack of action.
Yes,
So it we never made a decision and we lost our ability to.
we made the decision, but we never issued the written decision.
Oh, okay. I do remember that.
Yeah,
No. Okay.
yeah. Jeff,
So 205 Sunset, that decision that we made that they had to reduce the size of that dock and remove it from the wetland, they're free and clear now. Is that correct?
yep, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. Oh, it's a big heartache. Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but maybe, yeah. I
yeah.
just kind of figured they would do the right thing, but okay.
Well, and you know, there's nothing that's keeping them from doing it, but it will be not because they have to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the recommendation there. And like I said, I think, you know, Rich, you brought up some good points. So let's get back to Adam with the, you know, fine print and splitting hairs so that everybody's really clear on what the best practice is moving forward.
Agreed.
And then we just talked about reconstituting a commission, so I've already covered that. Training updates. I made this recommendation when Chris Riley was in the land use office. I understand that he isn't or may not be there now, but just as a tickler to for everybody that's doing training to talk about the training they've done, not in detail. 5 bullets, that's it, max, right? But to socialize the shared training so that commissioners have some awareness of it and then know, you know, who to reach out to if they had further questions. Yeah, and then officer elections. You folks may recall that I am resigning effective at the end of this month. And so I am looking for someone to put their name in for chair. And I'm actually hoping Jenny might raise her hand.
I would do that.
Cool. Would anybody else like to put their name in the hat for chair? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Okay, if Jenny is putting her name in the hat for chair, do we have anybody that will be vice chair? Should be her backup. And as a chair, you do need a vice chair. So I'm just gonna ask people. So Jeff, I think your term ends in June, and are you thinking about stepping down from the commission, or are you going to raise your hand to move forward?
No, I believe I'm going to step down. Just with our situation, we've kind of become snowbirds too, and with my job, it's difficult.
Okay,
So
understood.
Yeah.
So
when is that official date? Do you know?
June 31st or June 30th.
June 30th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking you're probably not going to put your name in the hat for vice chair.
No, unfortunately, no.
Yeah. Mike, would you consider being a vice chair?
Madam Chair, as others, I have become a snowbird myself and don't feel I could really do justice to the position when I'm away, as long as I am. I certainly want to continue in my role when I am here to, even though when I am away, I participate in the meetings, but I think it takes more than that in order to make a commitment like that. So I'm not in a position take on that extra responsibility, but
The
I
only
think-
formal extra responsibility for vice chair is to read through the agendas and whatnot when the chair is unavailable. It's the only formal obligation, just so everyone's aware.
I hear you. I can certainly read, but it just seems that I want to be closer in order to make that sort of commitment.
Understood. Okay, Jenny, you had your hand up?
I was just going to say that I think that a vice chair could absolutely be a snowbird and be remote.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. But it's up to the individual members. I hope that we do get you a chair, a vice chair, Jenny, because having somebody to at least talk to about things is helpful.
Yeah.
Chris, would you consider being vice chair?
I'll get back to you on that. I'm on the fence. I'm in a new job. I'm really putting a lot of time into that, and let me think. I would like to see somebody else step up first, but
Okay. Fair enough. Rich?
Well, as the last person in line and nobody else has said they can, I can. I wanted to see somebody else do it first. It's a little more local, more often. But if nobody else is able to do it, I will put my name in as vice chair to assist Jenny.
That is awesome. I love that she's
Very
not.
awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't call on Pete. Pete, nothing against you. But you are still brandy new, and I didn't think it would be fair to put you on the spot of asking that question. But if you want to charge in there and raise your hand, I'm not going to stop you either.
Maybe if there's a commission change, in a year or so that requires somebody to step up and no one else can do it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so I make a motion for Jenny Putherer to be the chair of the Conservation Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Rich?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
And I for myself. And Jenny, I assume you vote for yourself.
Yeah, I vote for myself. Am I allowed
Thank
to vote
you.
for myself?
I don't know. But you still carried a majority even if we discount your vote.
Okay.
So for vice chair Rich Birch, yeah, I make a motion to nominate Rich Birch as
Second.
vice chair. Jenny, thank you. Roll call vote. Mike?
Aye.
Chris?
aye.
Pete? Pete?
Aye.
There we go. Jenny?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I for myself. Rich?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Oh, no problem, Jenny.
Thank you all. Okay, so moving along. It's getting late. Earth Day events, there're just a couple of things going on. Pollinator Habitat is doing an event, garden clean out, I think, an open house on the 26th of April. And there have been a lot of things socialized on social media, various platforms and various groups. Mike, anything you want to add about that?
Only that it's been rescheduled for the 26th from 10 until noon, which is a Saturday. And hopefully we won't have 7 inches of snow.
Hopefully not. Yeah, that was a shock.
It's hard to plant in snow.
Yeah. And then the National Honor Society has volunteered. We got a lot of volunteers actually doing some little one-off jobs. I guess somebody coming over tomorrow to look at doing some signage out the Northwest Town Forest. And then as a group event, they have graciously offered to meet me and Chris up at the Table Rock. I think also on the 26th, to move a lot of material in there for some boardwalks that are being built to help protect the some sensitive wetland adjacent areas for the trail. So I'm pretty excited about that too.
Did you want me to reach out to Bob about using the ATV, or were you gonna do that?
I already talked to him about it. He thinks that we can get the ATV in there to help move some of the material. Then we're gonna have a bunch of strapping teenagers
Okay.
to help as well.
Right.
So yeah,
Okay.
very good. I don't have any updates on anything else. Do we have any other updates that anybody wants to put out there? I think everybody's just tired and done. We started early. It's been a long night. Do I have a motion to adjourn at 10 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Pete,
All right.
and I for myself. Thank you, folks. See you on the 7th of May.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
Good
everyone.
night.